Hello, welcome to this very special edition of the Pace Report. I'm Brian Pace, reporting live here at the 2021 Montclair Jazz Festival here in downtown Montclair, New Jersey, presented by Jazz House Kids. Tonight, blessing the band stage is a dynamic vocalist as well as tenor saxophonist who hails from St. Albans, Queens, New York. Camille Thurman has been on the jazz scene for well over a decade, and this sister has really not only moved the tradition of black roots music forward, but she also is very versed as a vocalist as well as a saxophonist. In fact, she's been mentored by the likes of the great Tia Fuller as well as Antoine Roney, just to name a few. Her current CD, Waiting for the Sunrise, which is on Chesky Records, also showcases her moving forward by recording songs that she loves to sing and that everybody enjoys listening to, the great standards. Tonight I had a chance to sit down to break bread to talk to her about her origins growing up, how she was exposed to both the vocal as well as the saxophone side, and also we talk about how she's been able to really craft as well as move her voice to the point where she's not only just talented on both ends of the scale, but she has to do that when she performs for an hour, hour and a half every night. So sit back, relax, and enjoy highlights of Miss Camille Thurman performing live here at the 2021 Montclair Jazz Festival here in downtown Montclair, New Jersey, presented by Jazz House Kids here on the Pace Report. I go back to when you competed in the Sarah vocal competition. But I followed you in sporadic parts for the vocal side, the sax side, and it's like now you're your fourth album in and everything's interesting about you because, you know, when you think of like Aretha Franklin or you think of someone like Roberta Flack or Alicia Keys. They're the complete package. How did we get to this point?
That's an excellent question. Just being absorbed in the music, I think. And I think, well, definitely it was God, because who was randomly born in a historic neighborhood of Queens where you have people like Ella Fitzgerald and, of course, Lena Horne, John Coltrane, and so many amazing great musicians that just happen to be living there about 30, 40 years before you even thought of it.
I noticed that you worked very hard at playing the sax. You worked very hard at singing. And then you've got to lead this band. And how is it being a female leading a band? And how do you pick your musicians to, I guess, convey your musical language?
That's an excellent question. I was very fortunate to meet my musical partner, Daryl Green, 8-9 years ago at Smalls Jazz Club, and we ended up being great friends. And I ended up working with his trio, and then it kind of evolved into it becoming a co-band. And it's great because the musicians that he was working with, they had a personal relationship, and then I ended up being close with them too. And there's always a thing of, you know, first off, you always want to have the drums and the bass be magical. And they have to be able to kind of be right here. And just instinctually know each other. And from seeing how he put his trios together, I kind of learned also what works for me. And I ended up meeting great bassists like, of course, DiCarlo, Lonnie Plaxico, and so many other great bassists. Saadi Zane, and then kind of seeing how that works. Like, okay, you want a really strong drummer, but you also want a really intuitive bassist that understands and knows harmony and rhythm, but also has just that connection of being able to go where you lead them. And then, of course, piano. For me, I love a pianist that understands the importance of, yes, hitting hard with the horn player, but then also understanding how to add the perfect touch to a vocalist's accompaniment. And just, for me, it was getting to work with my musical partner, Daryl Green. And he had a trio that they, you know, had been working for years. And we ended up partnering together and working together. And it was just beautiful because I got to see the chemistry and understand what the important aspects of a player is and what you need in a player. And for me, it was having a drummer that's solid, but then also having a bassist that's willing to be able to listen and hear it, but lead, but also take it other directions and always be able to trust and know that they got your back. And of course, for a pianist, for me, I'm a horn player and I'm a vocalist. So it's always been important for me to find somebody that's like my strong pillar, who can, yes, support me harmonically, but also not be afraid to hit hard, but also have that sensitivity to know for each instrument how to give it exactly what it needs.
And you know, I noticed you have Brandon McHugh and you have Alvester Garnett.
Yes.
So I mean, they really are very strong. They're strong suits. They're strong suits because their personalities and your energy kind of like, oh, okay, this is like combustion, right? It really is. It's how it came out. Yeah,
and that's what I love about working with those musicians, because this is something, yes, of course, the skill, the mastery, the technique, but then, like you said, that energy and being able to kind of fall into place and just, bam, the perfect element to make it happen.
Singing originals, like tonight, you wrote lyrics to a Buster Williams composition, and writing is another tech also.
Yes,
I mean, it's another technique, and it's a craft that not so many people are mastering, and you're singing your own stuff. How is that?
I love it, because when you write, you're writing to where you want to be, what you're hearing, even if you can't see how it's going to manifest. If you can just put the thought there, you're creating a path for it to happen. So whether it's, you know, something harmonically I'm trying to figure out, or even just something that's an idea or an inspiration, to be able to kind of work it out like clay and then put it on paper and manifest it, and then you just have this great band to be able to kind of sink your teeth in with, and like, all right, let's work it out. I love being able to have those opportunities because it helps me to grow as a player, but also even as a person to kind of know who am I, what do I like. what is it that makes me want to get out of my shell? Or what do I need to get out of my shell? Those kind of things.
Surrounds my lonely heart, and life has lost its thrill. Wondering why my mind's been torn apart. Have no dreams left to live. And then you came my way to wash away the gloom and show the strength of love stepped in to gently plant its seed, and things began to grow. In my heart, I feel there is a need, and I want you to know you are my one true love, the one I've waited for, and I know you're meant for.
Do you think that as a musician now, do you think that the band stage is more important than the education, or do you think the education part contributes to what you do to the band stage?
I think it's both. For me, I was very fortunate because I learned from the community. I went to school, but musically speaking, I learned from the community. And it was one of the best experiences that I had because I was able to hands-on learn from the experience of watching the masters, but then also hearing the masters have conversation with me and letting me know how the process works. And even if it wasn't an actual conversation, just watching it. And it makes you really understand as a musician what's really important. Yes, you want to have your mastery. Yes, you want to have your technique, yes, you want to have your skill and of course the intellect and the mental knowledge and capacity to do it all, but in understanding how to work with people, that experience was just priceless because it really helped me to understand what's the magic in this music. School is great at giving you the foundation, the tools, and the technique, but then also the experience of being on the bandstand is where you're able to kind of manifest it all coming together.
You know, you're an educator now, you work extensively with Kids House, and the next generation is pretty much interesting because they have technology now that I think can be used as beneficial to their learning, but also could be a crutch. What is it that you do to differentiate mastering what they want to play and then also using the technology?
That's an excellent point. I always take them straight to the records because I feel like it never lies. And there's always so much information to unpack that can help lead you to use the technology as a tool to help you in learning. So even for my students, I drill them over and over again. You gotta listen, you gotta transcribe. Let's sit down, let's talk about what's happening with the story. Because if we can understand what the story is behind the music, then we can take the pieces of it that we're trying to understand and process and create a space where we can break it down. And then create a place where we can acquire it to our skill. And then, okay, go on the bandstand, forget about what you learned and try to see what you can do and tap into yourself.
Do you feel that you need to expose them not just to jazz, but maybe gospel and the blues? Because, you know, us being people of color, our experience is definitely rooted in the church.
Absolutely.
Do you think that a lot of these younger musicians are gravitating to that experience, or do you think that they're moving more towards what they see or what they're hearing now?
Well, I think that's why it's important that we teach the importance of understanding the culture. Because right now we're in a generation where everything is so accessible, but we don't understand the whys and the hows. And we have to make them be conscious of making a point to learn the whys and the hows. Because it's easy to just, oh wow, there's so much information. Okay, it's just information. There's no personal meaning. But when you take a student and say, come on, let's go to church. And let's just watch the interaction between the congregation and the pastor. Okay, now let's go listen to some moaning, or let's go listen to blues to elk. Let's try to see how we can.
Country preacher, Cannonball Adderley.
Yes.
Yeah, you just, it's all part of the experience.
It's all part of the experience, and that's the most important part of the music, the experience. Yes, the music, the notes, the technique, the understanding of how this happened and what, but most importantly, the experience.
You're part of one of the most influential jazz orchestras in the world. I mean, you guys are the ambassadors. Lincoln Center Orchestra. And what is it about Wynton Marsalis, his vision, and you guys interpreting his vision for the music and the culture? How's that?
I think being able to relate to the world that this music is about the human experience. And for me, as an African American, this music was birthed from the experience of my ancestors. So being able to understand how we could take what we learned in the past and see the qualities that helped us become who we are as a people to bring us to the present gives us an understanding of appreciating each other culturally, but then also seeing that we have common principles, just talking about humanity, that we all can relate to and understand. And that enriches our experience, yes, relating to one another, but also enriches how we're able to communicate, whether it's through the music, whether it's through the art, whether it's through dance. That's what makes us human. And that's what helps us to be able to understand each other and have empathy and to learn from one another.
And that's so beautiful, because one of the things that Dizzy Gillespie did when he was part of the Ambassador, going all over the world to play our music. I like how Wynton has made Jazz at Lincoln Center's orchestra a myriad of how we are here in America, and I think that it's very important what you guys are trying to do as far as reaching out to other cultures. Are you learning from other cultures too musically?
Absolutely, yes. I remember I went to China. We did a residency in Shanghai for 3 weeks, and there is a song called Mohua, and I love learning songs from different cultures because it gives me a chance to practice other languages, but also it gives me, as a composer and arranger, like the green light to experiment and try things. And I remember we sung it at a set, and everybody just popped their head up and was like, "What? You're singing our song? We appreciate you for that. Thank you." And it just sent a light bulb in my head that, wow, everywhere we go, we need to find something that we're able to take and use as a way of extending our hand and saying, "Hey, I want to learn about your culture. I appreciate you. I want to see how I could find my experiences and what you have available culturally for me to learn from, so that I could be a student and be able to not only just appreciate being here, but also be able to appreciate learning about you."
Queens, St. Albans. Eddie Murphy said, "I'm finding my wife, Queens." Queens is such a very unique borough. In my opinion, I've been in New York 14 years. It's the most diverse of all the 5 boroughs, because you have pockets. Rego Park is totally different than St. Albans. St. Albans is totally different than Bayside. What was it like growing up, and how did you get exposed to, 1, the saxophone, and then 2, was the singing always part of your DNA?
Yeah, well, my mother, God bless her, she was the one that introduced me to this music, because she was studying to get her master's degree, I believe in literacy and education, and she was studying Bear Rabbit stories. That was her thesis. And somehow she ended up looking at hip hop and storytelling and looking at the research that she was doing. And one day she stumbled upon some history that we lived in a historic area of Queens where there were jazz musicians. And she was already kind of experimenting with connections between jazz and hip hop and storytelling. And she was just like, "You know what, Camille, I'm going to make my research experience your research experience. So we're going to learn about the people in your neighborhood. We're going to listen to the music. We're going to learn about the artists at that time that exist. We're going to do a full study of culturally what was happening, not just with the musicians, but with everybody in this community." And it was one of the best educational experiences I ever had. I couldn't have thanked God enough for giving me a mom that was like a wonderful teacher in culture, because she introduced me to the music, showing me documentaries of the International Sweethearts of Rhythm.
Ooh.
Of course, you know, showing me stories about Fats Waller and how he was playing in Harlem, and how he used to go to silent films and learn and watch from his teacher playing. All those important stories she was able to teach me and show me, hey, this is part of your heritage. You got to learn it. And even though she didn't play jazz, she was a pianist and a vocalist, she always had music playing around me, and I just kind of absorbed it. I didn't really get into playing it until I was much older, but I had the foundation there that was set back.
Like every time I see you, like today, I said, this girl's doing some Betty Carter, this girl's doing some Nancy Wilson. I mean, and I like the fact that you're not just focused on one vocalist. We have some jazz vocalists that, and I'm not knocking them at all, there's some fantastic vocalists out here that are killing it out here, both male and female, but you really kind of reach out to all the elders.
Yeah, I love them. There's so much to unpack. I mean, it's like if you don't study your past, how can you figure out who you are? I can't contribute anything to anybody as an artist if I don't dig deep into what they've already done. Because it helps me to get to know myself, but then also to understand the importance of the lineage, so that when I perform, there's a connection. I can't get up there and have no connection. That would be, excuse my French, that would be dumb to do.
Right.
That'd be insulting to do. Because you gotta be able to have that understanding and appreciation of knowing where it came from, so that when you really dig into it, you have something that you're pulling that has depth.
Who are some of the musical influences on your life? Vocal-wise. We're gonna go into sax in a second.
Okay.
Who are some of your vocals?
Vocal-wise, of course, Sarah Vaughan. I used to come home, I was 13, lock the door, take out my hairbrush, get in front of the mirror, get on the bed so I could be on the stage. I was on my stage. And I would sing and pretend that I was her. I would, like, note for note, phrase by phrase, try to match what she was doing.
Really? Now, saxophone.
Saxophone.
Saxophone is, again, it's a different beast. And
it is a different beast.
There's a lot of great females. In fact, one of your mentors is Tia Fuller, who I've interviewed here on a couple of times. But what was it about the sisterhood between you two? Because, in fact, her sister was here just a few minutes ago.
She's my big sister too.
Okay. Tia just really, I'm proud of her because even on the education side, she's still very, very relevant in a time when we don't see too many people of color doing what we're doing. How do you feel about Tia?
Oh, I love her. That's my sister. I wouldn't be doing this and talking to you had it not been for her pulling me aside from my college band and in college and saying, "What are you doing here? You need to be playing." Because I was studying to be a geologist. I was, I knew, okay, I'm gonna get my degree. I love playing, but I had experience in school, in my high school, that really kind of traumatized me from wanting to even have anything to do with pursuing music. And I remember she was our guest artist that came, and my teacher at the time, Michael Carbone, God bless him, he kept telling me, "I'm bringing Tia Fuller. You need to see her. You need to have a discussion with her." And I was like, okay. At the time, I didn't know who she was. And when he brought her, we played, and I remember after class, she closed the door, talked to me, pulled me aside. My teacher was there. She's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm getting my degree." She's like, "You should be playing." And I was like, well, I didn't know I could even make a career playing because I had such a terrible experience. It kind of really, discouraged me. And she was like, "I'm doing it. Look at me. I'm doing it right now. And I'm telling you right now you can do the same thing." And I was 22, dealing with, my experience with sexism and all kinds of stuff in high school. And now this was the first time I ever saw a woman of color that I could relate with and say, oh, there's an example. Okay, the possibility exists. Now let's try it.
And it is her experience and her journey is what's made her so strong. And, and she comes from, I met her parents many years ago. In fact, the very first time I interviewed her, we were at Dizzy's, and I met her mother and father. You can tell the genes. It comes from mommy and daddy.
It does.
You brought up something that is very interesting. You said sexism in this industry, and I want you to tell my viewers about how to endure this. I mean, you're playing in venues around the world, and you're leading your own band, and you've got a lot of shoes you got to do. You got management, you got publicity, you got publishing,
the booker.
You got all of that, and you
the composer.
Yes, and then you got to find time to practice and then shed
all those instruments.
Yeah. How is it?
You make time. I think the most important lesson that I learned, and even from my experience as a younger student playing in middle school and high school, you have to realize why you do it. Who do you do it for? Because that's going to be the one thing that's going to help you to get through those tough situations where you're being confronted with sexism and racism and all those things. It's going to help you to understand the reason why I play has nothing to do with all that.
Right.
And it kind of helps you to just center in and really just focus on getting to the heart of doing what you truly love. And I wished at 13, 14 years old I had a female musician or a mentor or artist to look up to and to talk to at that time. So I'm sure it probably would have saved me some heartache. But I'm grateful for the lessons that I did get when it came in right on time. And I did have people in mind. Of course, I had Dottie, Anita Taylor, I had Tia Roper, who are phenomenal musicians. But I think that's the most important reminder for yourself, knowing why you do it and who you do it for, especially for young women, because most of the time society kind of has a weird way of shaping it so that you make decisions for everybody else but yourself. And for women, to do something that you love for yourself is almost kind of seen as selfish. And we kind of conditioned in it in a weird way without even realizing it through the practices that we have throughout the day. It's okay to give up what you want to do for the sake of doing what needs to be done for others. And that was the one lesson I had to learn. You do it for yourself because you love it. You want to be the best that you can be, and everything else will take its place.
A little child so sweet, precious, innocent, and neat. You are Daddy's little girl, perfect in all of your ways. You are my joy and pride, and my reason why smile, my beautiful Christina. Sweet angelic child, you are daddy's sweet delight. Your smiling light brings joy to my heart. Little angel, you'll always be my only little girl that brings the daylight to my night sky. Precious child, little child, my joy.
Camille Thurman, what does jazz music mean to you?
Oh, that's a hard question. What does jazz mean to me? Jazz it's life. It's everything. It's the experience. It's, for me as African American, the black experience of how we overcame, how we were able to be in situations where we faced adversity, but be able to find the depths within ourselves of what makes us want to keep living and keep thriving. And I think that's what it really means to me. Because in any aspect of my life, I think about it. Like, had we not had our experience, we wouldn't have this music. This music has given power and encouragement, and it has uplifted so many people. And the people that made a career doing this music gave so much for that to happen, for people to be able to enjoy and appreciate from that experience. So it's everything to me. It's life.
It is. I've always said this. I don't know, I have some musicians correct me and I have some musicians that disagree with me on this, but I always said blues gave birth to jazz, blues gave birth to gospel, blues,
Sure did.
and hip hop is like the little baby sister to jazz and the blues. How accurate is that?
Yeah, I guess you could, or the daughter or the son.
Okay.
Because if you think about it, when you check out those records of King Pleasure, or even of John Hendrix, or any of those great singers during the 40s and 50s, even just them talking, just a simple conversation, the rhythms, the nuances, the slickness, and how they were able to do the phrasing, even though it wasn't, we're just talking about just the talking.
Cap Calloway.
Yes.
Or
Cap
Louis
Calloway.
Armstrong.
Louis Armstrong.
Yeah.
They were quick on their feet to be able to communicate in a way that was beyond what we were given.
Right.
And you think about hip hop, it's a daughter of that, or a son of that. It's progression. Yeah.
That'll do it again for another edition of the Pace Report, reporting live here at the 2021 Montclair Jazz Festival here in downtown Montclair, New Jersey. I'd like to personally thank the staff and management here at Jazz House Kids for their warm hospitality. Also, please support Camille Thurman's project, which is now available on iTunes as well as Amazon.com. For more information on her upcoming tour dates, as well as to order her music, please visit her online at CamilleThurmanMusic.com. Also, people, like, share, and subscribe to my videos here on YouTube and Vimeo, as well as like, share, and subscribe to my social media pages on Facebook, as well as Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, remember, if it's in the groove, it'll make you move. Until next time, peace.
And